Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com Broiler Chicken Show. Trade your trading plans. Don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's weekend frivolity. The broiler chickens. Buck, 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 buck. Happy Labor Day weekend. Labor's Day. I suppose, we're trying a new format here with the videos because that digital green screen was just brutal. So give us some feedback. I don't know whether we can make that video image a little bit more narrow, but anyway, let me know if I can somehow make this video a little bit better for you, but I think hopefully that'll be a little bit more palatable. It is a holiday weekend, so I can appreciate probably not nearly as many people watching these videos and interacting on the site and stuff. Hopefully out with family and friends and enjoying the what remains of the summer. Usually the weather here actually for September is pretty nice, and we don't really hit the fan until about the middle of October. So anyway, enjoy what's left of the good weather. Oh boy, lots of craziness going on in the world. It almost seems like it just is a constant barrage. I don't know. I suppose, it's funny whenever you go through crises and stuff, this crisis is always the worst. It's always the worst in all of human history. And nothing's ever been a more dire situation. So I suppose when we look back in hindsight, we'll muddle our way through these challenging times. It is interesting to see how this sort of predictions of this celestial events, 6 different celestial events, all in a few years time period, hasn't happened in a million years in human history. And how we are faring our way through it. Let's hope we all get through this in one piece. Who knows? And I do find it interesting that this sort of final coup de grace at the very end of all this is some big asteroid supposed to come along and just graze us, hopefully. But might as well enjoy life like today is your last day, because you never know. Might just be. I used to have a client who used to always say, for someone on this planet, it is the end of the world today. And every single day, it's always the end of the world for somebody. So I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos and stuff about how the moon is a secret planet for soul harvesting souls. Everybody get your tinfoil hat on. Anyway, who knows? The irony of it all, I always talk to you guys in the market about the fundamentals and the known fundamentals. And we pigeons in the public, we just trade off of the known fundamentals. But if we actually knew what the reality was of all of these backroom deals and stuff, oh man, I think we'd have a very different image of this this society. So who knows? Anyway, it's going to be a bit of a tumultuous next couple months ahead of us. That's for darn certain. Have a newfound appreciation, I suppose, for those people who believe in eclipse cycles. Really do see, speaking of the moon, really do see how the market loves to use those as pivot points through the year. And of course, we do have a one coming up here in September. So my hunch is probably some serious volatility through all of that. And then, of course, we've got our 4-year Bitcoin cycle pivots this fall. My hunch is, ironically enough, and I do see a lot of people talking about like 4-year cycles and stuff like that. it's probably not something like, you can watch your watching tick, 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 tick. Okay, now. I don't think it's going to be like that. Um, and you saw the way that Alan effed around with the public and Bitcoin and his stupid little Dogecoin experiment. You saw how we did that through the last cycle. So you could very easily have, one or two deep pocket participants that kind of totally mess all these cycles up and push things out a month or two. I also do get the feeling that there is going to be some sort of big push into the calendar year end, especially for consumers. Sadly, of course, institutions, knowing that this is the 4-year cycle pivot for this industry, um, I think they'll be wanting to get the biggest bang for their buck and make as much money as possible into that year end. And of course, sadly, you're going to have the public coming in and basically buying the top of the cycle into that year end. They'll be trapped, as these cycle peaks often goes. And companies and stuff like that, at least they can actually, like, for tax purposes and stuff, book sales right up at the top of the market. That's my hunch, for whatever it's worth. Ain't worth a hell of a lot. Interestingly enough, with these cycles, what I've often found is that 9 times out of 10, the stock market actually sells off into October, November. We set some sort of base. Then the junior market is fairly weak into the end of the year as we go through very typical tax loss selling and tax loss harvesting. I have a feeling, though, and I notice this about once every 4 years when we go through these sort of, apex cycle peak event windows, that the exact opposite happens. And we actually rally into that window. And that is your warning sign that, hey, something doesn't smell right. Normal seasonality is not at play here. So I'd be watchful, mindful of that. In fact, I remember the very first cycle I came into Bitcoin was 2012, 2013. People were trading on a site called Cripsy, I think it was. We used to call it Crapsy a million years ago. And that cycle peak was right into like October, November. And, the market sort of ground its way through the end of the year. And then the floor just fell out the following year, winter, spring, which sadly is basically what our long-term cycles suggest ought to happen. My hunch is you won't actually see it in glorious Technicolor until we're probably here at exactly this conversation point this time next year. And you look back and you say, oh, well, it turns out the top came in on November 2nd, just like Gronkowski predicted. I think that's who it was. Gronk, something like that. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's in anybody's best interest to get into the predicting game. If you do actually call a market, then everybody thinks you walk on water for about an hour or two. And then the next thing they say is, okay, well, what next? And you got to sit there continually, performing like some monkey, and heaven forbid you're wrong, and everybody, instantly off the bandwagon and you suck and blah, blah, blah. I'm calling my lawyer. I don't think that's a healthy game to get into. And really, at the end of the day, I actually don't think it's healthy for people to seek sort of outside validation for their performance. I mean, your portfolio and your money, it's your money. If you can do well at this, well, your money will grow. If you can't do well at this, the last thing in the world you should be doing is telling people that you should be followed, and you should follow your advice. And of course, advice is so dangerous. That's such a dangerous word to use in this world. In fact, actually, I even remember one of the videos that TRI did. Somebody was very optimistic and bullish and was like, I advise to go long. And we actually got a warning from YouTube. You're not allowed to say advise, and the C word as a CRY. You know how that word goes. I think we have it in the title of our video here. So, um, at the end of the day, the proof of the pudding's in the eating. I mean, if you buy stuff and it goes up in value and you're feeling pretty damn good, well, that's the that's the end results. And interestingly enough, this has been a pretty tough slog in the crypto arena since literally what, a week or two after Donnie took office. It really hasn't been the most exciting of bull markets, if you can even call this a bull market. It is what it is. So as I said, cycle pivots, and I think probably our weekly Bitcoin chart. I think I don't see any reason why any of this would change here. I could click on that, or I could just pull the chart up. So yeah, weekly Bitcoin chart. We did actually have a around probably about 20 different setups all sort of floating around here and there. One setup I've been having a lot of fun just flipping futures contracts off of lately is basically my Altangonator with an injection of RSI modeling to help time the trades. It actually sped up a sell signal in this weekly chart on Bitcoin last week. Actually, I guess the beginning of this week. And you can see the chart. There's nothing really shocking here. I would say that we have lost the 13 EMA. We're actually in the process of asking, well, do we really want to accept below 13 EMA? Adam say his line. You can see how quite often we'll actually dip down and play with that 13, like 13 EMAs here. Play with that 13 EMA, and then if we lose it, usually we dump right down into a 30 SMA. So you can see how we're playing with that 13 EMA now. And my hunch is if we puke out and lose this low, there's almost like an air vacuum here. One of the reasons why I like to follow these moving averages in particular, you notice that this 30 SMA also lines up very nicely with candle body highs and lows for trade location. And of course, an excellent sort of guide for you going forward, this concept called look left. So if you do see a market moving down and you're like, well, where do you think this thing might stop? Well, look left. Where was the last time some big fat cat came in and said, no more down, you go up, i.e. they stepped up and bought. Previous breakout highs, I think that's sort of what we're playing with right now. Really, and I would expect key support down against these tails. It's basic 101 TA against the POC. All right, good old Johnny Hoagland. He'd love that reference. What's scary about this, though, as you can see, there's a lot of unfinished business down here. I don't know whether this happens before our cycle pivot. My hunch is no. Or January, February, March, April, May, June of next year. I very, very easily see price head back down into these levels then. So as you can see, and usually what I do is I throw on just a little study, and the take profit of this particular setup is 1.5 to 1. You sort of ring the register, which takes us down into $90,500 would be that sort of time to ring the register. And I think it just simply is just a revisit of this bottom of this channel. Makes sense. And keep in mind, Bitcoin doesn't really like to finish a move without some sort of horrific fanfare. So my hunch is probably whatever this finishing move is, it's probably going to have some crazy ass tail. So I guess just a very simple message here, anybody who follows fractals, the market did fractal out on that signal. So we can't really get bullish here until we actually carve out a bullish fractal. I don't know how long that's going to take. No way of knowing where that signal will come in. I would say with regard to this RSI modeling, it is told to move stop to scratch on a 1-to-1 risk reward. So that is basically, if we do get that dump into these levels, candle body lesser trade location, 30 SMA, the POC, tails, wicks, and tails like to be eaten, yada, yada, yada. Then that trade will be told just to move your stop to scratch. And if this thing can bottom and start moving higher, then the short's just taken off at scratch. So that's sort of the state of the market in the short term. And I thought, for considering we are heading into this cycle peak, we'll probably talk primarily about Bitcoin. And if you want to talk individual cryptos, great. But be sure to, Chris, were there any questions in the AMA document this week? Oh, I don't know if Chris is still here or not. He's probably running across the room. He's got a towel. Oh, there he is. Were there any questions? He was pulling a homer, right? He had a towel around his waist. He's taking a shower. Oh shit! He just said my name. Running across the room. We'll say I have a lot of fun trading the iron condors. I'm very, very excited about the prospect of that business going forward. So Chris and I chat on a regular basis about iron condors. No questions. All right. Well, that means you people in the YouTube audience, you got a free reign here. I guess it would make sense, and probably also not a bad opportunity to shill the education program. As we said, coming into the end of the summer. So that usually means that a new school term will be starting up here. So and keep in mind, this is the last term I'll be teaching live at TRI, and I use these broiler chicken shows as kind of a dovetail for the level oneers, where you get to like ask me direct questions. So I think the link is on here somewhere. But if you're interested, I would strongly suggest you take advantage of that now. This education program is going to become more automated in the new year after I leave. So if you like the education program in its current format, I might want to consider hopping in there and doing that program. And if anything, it's just good to get the basics down. The level 1 program is going to teach you, eating your vegetables, how are you supposed to behave in the marketplace? What are all the key ingredients that you should have? How should you approach the market? Risk first approach, blah, blah, blah. As well as a general overview of where the hell we are in the world and how does this capitalist machine actually work. Along with a basic introduction to ranging market states and trending market states, and a couple setups that I like to use that speak to those two different types of market states, and some of the neat little tricks that I've learned over the years to help me identify markets in transition. And actually, I think I spent like 11 hours yesterday, trying out a new trade setup that I had thought about and wanted to implement it. And what's super cool about TradingView now, this is such an awesome development. I don't even know whether I should actually even talk about it or not. It's so awesome, but forget about it. I mentioned it. What a tease. You can now, and this is going to help me out immensely teaching. And Joe, if you're watching this video after the fact, give a shout out to the Slack team. I should probably go into the Slack channel and give them a big high five because they looks like they pulled it off. But and totally tangent conversation. I have a bad habit of doing this. Sorry, everybody. Let's see which screen is it? This one. So you can now on TradingView on the replay function, you can let the replay function do it. They haven't quite figured out how to do GTC orders yet. So you just have to buy or sell. Trend is down, so what the hell? Let's sell. So actually, I don't want to do it there. Let's sell over here. But what's super cool about this is now I can actually use this tool to help people understand and learn to trade setups. So maybe I want to take this shot and I want to risk against previous horizontal support and resistance. I'm not saying this is a trade I would recommend. It's just doing it. And I want to make sure that, if I'm right, I get paid. So now we can just, I don't know, say $1,000, whatever. We can now do this modeling on their replay function, which means that you should be able to practice. I think I'm going to take that off. Nice little $400 profit. Yay. But you get the idea? Man, it's so freaking cool. So I was having fun all weekend just trading setups. Now, the only thing that they're missing here right now is they need to have a open order function, right? Because I want to sell if we tag that 1.618 level. So hopefully that's coming down the pipe. But I was super, super pleased to be able to see that you could manage orders. Let's say I wanted to buy that. And now I can just simply say, great trade, Brian, way to go. I'm going to risk the against the lows. There's my risk. So I thought that was just like super uber cool, and boom, stopped out. Oh, well, I guess I better go back to school and learn I better trade W's or whatever, Anyway, I was super, super pleased to see that a development today. Anyway, and so I was having fun all weekend long playing with this new setup that's just strictly a momentum trading with the trend setup. Having fun vetting that out. All right. Anyway, off topic. Sorry about that. Where were we? Supposed to be talking about this thing here. So as I had said, with regard to Bitcoin and the write-up here this week, I don't see a hell of a lot to get excited about here. I don't think we're in a big hurry. I'd also say too, if we are working a weekly sell pattern, I said this a moment ago, I'll just reiterate it. I have to see some sort of anecdotal evidence that this has ended before I can actually start getting bullish. So I don't know how this plays itself out, but for the time being, as the old expression goes, the bear has the ball. Still like the idea that the last month of this window sees often absolutely insane parabolic price movements. So ironically enough, if that mid to end of October window is our cycle pivot, then I really wouldn't expect anything dramatic out of Bitcoin to start until, I don't know, it's the middle of September or something like that. Let's just put it this way, unless this level is cleanly taken out and we close below that level, I think to all intents and purposes, these ABCDs and these higher time frame ABCDs and these target windows, I think they're all still in place. Nothing's really changed here. And if anything, all of you should look at this and say, well, Brian, what letter of the alphabet does that look like? I don't know whether you'd say that to me. Maybe that's what I say to you. Hint, hint, hint. Straight up and straight down. If I turn that around, does that not look like a V? And of course, as we say here, V bottoms will need to be tested. V tops usually need to be tested. And a lot of times, if the trend is still up, they'll go and test it and break out and trade to new highs. So I would be shocked if that was our top and we just melted down from here. That would be very surprising. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents. And I suppose now, right, not a bad idea to add this now because we are moving down in earnest. Right, we will say V tops will need to be tested. So it is there. And as I said a moment ago, until we actually start seeing bullish fractals here, just cool your jets. Sort of dissecting this time frame by time frame. Put out this funny tweet over the weekend and Saturday mornings. I like to do sort of like my funny research, and if I'm going to do blog posts and stuff, that's usually when I do it. But if I get inspired through the week, maybe then too. But usually Saturdays when I do it. So yeah, I was sitting down yesterday and I suppose I was thinking about doing like a whole sort of investing manifesto, Brian's 2 rules of investing, blog post, pretty picture, all that. I was like, fuck it. I just didn't really feel like it. I wanted to have fun with chart porn. And what I did notice about this entire pattern, which I thought was really interesting, and that was sort of the inspiration for this silly little reference, is you kind of notice, at least I did, that this almost, this is a pretty big pattern. And also, too, this part in here, this and then slowly working its way down, right? And then I looked here and I went, gee whiz, that looks awfully familiar. You can see how we sort of went charging up and then did this funny pattern and then broke up back up against the old highs and then broke out to new highs over a fairly wide distance. And then if you sort of like look at it in microcosm, it's almost like, well, we kind of did that here too. We rallied up and then making this funny megaphone type pattern and then walking our way down. I mean, it just seemed like awfully familiar, like almost like deja vu. So it does make sense too that like energy is compressing and time is compressing here as we come into this cycle pivot. So it does make sense in my crazy way of looking at the universe that actually this is what's happening, is that this, you could argue this entire pattern is a fractal and it's just compressing on itself. I suppose if it is a very polite compression, then we just sort of duplicate this and then we quietly, whimperly roll over. And maybe what this turns into is I guess like a head and shoulders kind of thing. That wouldn't surprise me. So that was like the mini me kind of thinking. This is going to be relatively orderly, very symmetrical, just coming to an apex. And then this is the second thought, was if we can accept above this trend line level here, the top of the megaphone, maybe we go into orgy mode, right? Through that cycle pivot, that funny little window there into the end of the year. and we get some sort of insane blow off top here through the top, and that's our fat bastard reference or mine. Um, Both of these targets, I think, are perfectly legitimate. Either a conservative, very symmetrical, very boring, AB equals CD, symmetrical pattern, or we go into orgy mode and we have the alt ABCD blow off top, and these sometimes can get absolutely insane. And you can also think of things like the parking garage. Usually, that concept lines up really nicely with blow off tops. So that would be, where are we here? Extensions. Boosh. Yeah, interesting. 2.618, top of the parking garage. 1.618 bought, no brainer, short trade level. So considering how screwy and just effed up this world is right now, and how we're all kind of like living on a knife's edge right now, that's what it feels like. It feels like we're walking along the edge of an extremely sharp knife, and it's like every footfall the knife is so sharp that as we put our foot down, it literally slices into the soles of our shoes, where we can just about feel the metal underneath our feet. It's not quite cutting, but one bad footfall and slice right through, and there goes your foot. That's what it feels like right now, in my humble opinion. It's like, like the I don't know how to describe it. And I think what ends up happening is this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like this was completely unavoidable. It had to happen. This is the way these damn, humans are built. Um Manufactured, maybe. And they're just sitting on the moon harvesting our souls. Tinfoil hats. Anyway. Um, so I do like the idea that we're coming into some sort of apex event. It feels as though like the energy is compressing on itself. So if this concept is somewhat accurate, then what it does imply, and all I did was I just took the previous correction window from about what I think appears to be where we are. And you can see the distance of the correction period and then this correction period. You can see the distance of this rally. And if we replicate that, then, again, that mini me kind of thinking, it just feels like everything is compressing in on itself. So if we do replicate some sort of bottom that looks like this, sloppy as hell, very technically unpalatable, I guess. I don't know. There's a better word. Very difficult to trade. The noobs, where's those damn W's that Beamish guy's always going on about? Very, very difficult to trade. And keep in mind, the institutions now, the Finks, the Allens, unfortunately, he's got now all his computers fighting against us and all that kind of stuff. Actually, it wouldn't surprise me that bottoms have to look like this now for the next little while, as so many people are watching their screens and they want nice, polite bottoms, but instead we're going to just get FU type market state. Very dangerous. But anyway, the point of the matter here is if I just replicated that and then shrunk it down based on this scale, then it sort of paints to something along these lines. And then if we think about that, 1 month before the cycle pivot is when Bitcoin went, parabolic and past. Notice that that's about the 20th September, and there, of course, is your 20th of October, and maybe that's your big face rip move up. I don't know. I suppose it'd be kind of a whimpery end to this story. But don't you almost get the feeling like the entire society Everything about our society is just a whimpery kind of end to things right now. I mean, this is nothing in comparison to even the 2017, 2018 blow off tops. Man, it was a lot of fun. I mean, you don't hear about any stories like Danny fucking, I'm so fucking rich. I can go on social media and just say fucking, and people still love me. Fucking. I mean, there's none of that this cycle. It's non-existent. It's a very whimpery type market state. That's about the best way I can describe it. In fact, actually, I'm even part of one company. Fjord got us to invest some in their venture capital idea, and I'd be willing to bet dollars to donuts if that idea happened the previous cycle and in that sort of orgy mania, euphoria of the way people were acting through, but before this whole six different celestial events to change the fucking world and great resets up your ass and manufactured sicknesses and blah 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 blah. That story would have been just over the top. It would have been all the rage. Now, I almost hear nothing about it. They've got their social media things going, and the feedback on their product is it's pretty bitchin'. And it's the right story for this millennial age, all about, cyber this and assassins that and syndicates this and blah, just perfect narrative for this generation. And yet it's like a whimper. It's quite remarkable. Anyway, blah blah blah. So, needless to say, I mean, I do find it interesting that I am seeing things like, ironically enough, that I do. I'm trying to say 10 things at once here. I do think that once we get through this correction window, there is going to be a sizable rally. Now, is it like whimpery like this? And we only get a mini me and a classic harmonic bot target, A, B, C, D, fine, get the fuck out of here. You're done. Go to bed. Or is it going to be all right, let's party. Good old fat bastard kind of reference. And I like this window. Exactly where we top out, I don't know. This is just, drawn. I mean, I suppose we could stretch it all the way up to justify fat bastard kind of talk. Would mean, unfortunately, we probably got to see a bit more volatility in here if we're going to replicate that price range action. So I'm not necessarily saying like this is the course that we are going to take. I just think that our future is going to look something along these lines, i.e., probably still got another week or two, maybe even a few weeks of chop here ahead of us, right? This has got to play itself out. And this model, it hits its move stop to scratch a lot, right? Most of the day trades that I take, either I'm stopped out at scratch or I actually take profits. Very rarely does this model actually get stopped out for a full loss. So my hunch is there is some sort of panic dump here. Again, I think it's probably going to look something like this, where it's going to be very difficult. It'll be V bottom, which will piss everybody off because they're all want to grab the low, but they're going to make it damn difficult. But once we get through that window, which I think is probably somewhere around the middle to the end of September, I think we've got one hell of a September, October, latter part of September, all through the month of October. And it wouldn't surprise me if you hear a lot of people, talking about going as a Bitcoin for Halloween and that kind of stuff this year. I would expect stuff along those lines. Anyway, we'll see what happens. That's my expectation. If we look at this in a little bit more of a microcosm, remember we've got a pretty big celestial event coming up here. which I think is going to inject a whole shit ton of volatility into our lives. Um, and I actually like the idea of this megaphone kind of thinking here. And it might even be something like that. So I actually like the idea that you could argue the way that they have driven this price action. This is very rip the band-aid off in one quick fell swipe. Rip. And of course, sadly, anybody, of course, who bought in here and really doesn't really know what they're doing in the market, they're just dying 1,000 deaths here. But as I said before, V tops, even this little V top up top here, right? I mean, it had to be tested. So the fact that, and I do like the idea that the market is always speaking to us. Often I'm confused whether those are the voices in my head, but I suppose if they actually do start answering the questions that I have, then I know I have problems. Just kidding. But the question is, do you listen to the market's message? And I actually think that there's a pretty powerful message being sent here. This is not a classic structural top. M's are bearish, W's are bullish, right? National Association of W lovers. That's a V top outright. So what scares me though is that this is following along very well, the megaphone type price action. What I did find fascinating, if you sort of look at this in a microcosm, it sure looks to me like the parking garage itself actually was the pivot for the top of the market. I mean, this is like excellent learning material for new people. And sad part about it is if you're relatively new and you're looking at this image, it's probably like information overload for you. But a really great analogy of how that parking garage was really the destination for this market. This is where it wanted to go. But what often ends up happening is the market will oscillate wildly around that level. And you only see it after the fact where you go, son of a bitch. And this is why it's generally in your best interest to ring the register if we ever get up into those parking garage kind of levels. And, in a weird sort of way, that's basically what this is. This is parking garage. I would not, and I've said this a few times, I would not be surprised if we do something like this over the next few months. It's going to be a wild ride. So I guess the question recently was, all right, here we were up here at level, 0.2 there just a couple of weeks ago, middle of August. If this is a megaphone, how the hell do we get down to here? Holy crap. Well, that's how rip that band-aid off. And I did find it interesting that I think that, this was one-way push. Now, at this point, market gets ridiculously oversold. The rubber band's just too stretched, too far. And, Brian and his crazy old barking at you. What should you expect at any given point in time in the marketplace? So it just snapped back to good old Ray Burchett, first stop target. Relieved that oversold condition, probably even got some kids bullish, and then promptly went about completing the pattern. As it stands right now, right, we could very easily at any given point in time rally back comfortably back to 114 all the way up to 116. Wouldn't change this picture whatsoever. The only good part about it, I suppose, since we are making lower highs and lower lows, if we do actually get that rally back up into that wind, that'll break that market structure level. And then if you're a fan of like that ICT guy, 61.8 pullbacks are usually a pretty good trade location to take a chance going long. We're nowhere near that right now. Right now, we just went through the process. And interestingly enough, we had a few people on the TRI site who were taking long shots off of these bottoms. But I think in this kind of environment, you really better temper your expectations. And so that, I still think that we have to work our way down to 2, but it can't do it in a straight line. So I think we, down, up, down, up, down. Well, that's actually pretty typical how markets move. And ironically enough, as we work our way down into this 2-point down here, 78.6, interesting. We're probably maybe, I don't know whether we do it this one or that one, but you can see how we have a descending trend line here, that the megaphone. We have a POC here off of this entire range. So clearly there's a ton of people long from that level. And we also seem to have some trend line support along this level here. So I do like a nice little stab down into this level somewhere here. And also too, it's sort of basically back against this most recent market structure bottom. Wouldn't even be surprised if we like drilled in that there's actually some price gaps down in there that could use some attention. So still think we're just sort of grinding our way down here. Moving averages are very comfortably bearish. This is a 4-hour chart. So I wouldn't even think about turning bullish here until we can at least get those moving averages to cross back bullishly here off a 4-hour basis. You can see kind of trend rally. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, crap. And we roll back over and dump down to new lows. So kind of trend rally up and oh, crap, back down. Could we have that same sort of scenario here? Wouldn't surprise me. So it's not really the rosiest of pictures, I'll tell you that much, by crackers. I suppose one good thing is we did just bang into mountain 61.8 fib off of this entire range. So at least you can make the argument that we're now down into areas in price where institutional players are going to start paying attention. And frankly speaking, I mean, ironically enough, if you actually look at this image, when do the pros go on vacation? Right around the, first week or two of June kind of idea. Brian's like sell in May and walk away and all that kind of crap. Then they bid this thing up through the summer silly season. Do you notice that all they've done is just brought price right back down to where the pros hopped off before they went off to the Hamptons? I don't think that's an accident. And ironically enough, if you think like, 78.6, Brian's favorite fib, yeah, that's just about what I mean. Look at that. That's just basically looks like just about middle of the range here from that May to June swoon. So I think there's a lot of justification for thinking for a move down into this area. Also too, and I don't know whether it's as small as this, but I do like the idea, or wide or crazy or whatever terminology you want to use. I do like the idea that the market will move violently into the first eclipse window. And I do like that if they're selling, how does that expression go? I'm going to, if I'm selling the rumor, what am I likely to do here? Maybe buy the news? I don't know whether it's the celestial event or whether it's the insanity with what's going on with the U.S. Federal Reserve Board, or whether it's tariffs, or whether it's insane school shootings that just never seem to end. I don't know, but it feels like we've gone one directional here. I'm sure with regard to Bitcoin, there's probably fundamental drivers going on here that have slipped my mind. But I do like this eclipse window as sort of like our final, all right, we've stretched the rubber band so far. It does need to snap back here a little bit. That's kind of what I'm thinking right now. I've just drawn this particular level because that would just be a revisit of our midpoint of the parking garage again, which is actually very typical of megaphones. They do this a lot where dead cat bounces. All they do is they just rally right back to the midpoint of that megaphone. And then, this is also playing into that late October rally peak. If we think about I think that the eclipse window sort of like artificially kind of while we're in the eclipse window, people kind of like they almost are like in a like a fog. Um, Everything just stops, and all the previous trends, everything just kind of goes quiet. And then when we come out the other side of the eclipse window, whatever that original move is, it's gonna push. But I think this is a trap. And I actually think that, heading into that October rally event in a weird sort of way, which is over here, I do like the idea that the market comes out the other side and goes into like absolutely stupid orgy mode here. And this is our last 5 weeks of this 4-year cycle, which was this window here. Anyway, that's Brian's crazy predictions. Who knows what the hell happened? Squiggly line theory for the win. But I do really like this megaphone. And by the way, this would be a bullish setup where if we come down here to this 3 point and we put in any kind of bullish structure right down in the bottom of the reload zone, the venture cap reload zone, if you will, along this megaphone trend line down in this area, I think that actually sets up one hell of a buy window. And I think we're going to go absolutely apeshit crazy here. What worries me, though, is what's the catalyst that actually drives Bitcoin price go crazy here? I don't know whether it actually has anything to do with Bitcoin itself. I have been postulating for quite some time that I do like the US dollar to come off a bit more here. And it sure looks like I'm just seeing a ton of confluence all over the place. So if we look at the dollar index, I think it looks extremely heavy here right now. This has got bear A, B, C, D. This has got bearish bot. I mean, God, it's got a ton of setups written all over it. I suppose if we put in any kind of bearish structure below that line, spaghettios. So you can see we're flirting with disaster here. And what's also interesting too is if you look out into the public, everybody's saying that the US dollar is shit. And that basically Donald Trump is literally single-handedly destroying the United States of America. It's quite remarkable to watch it all play out. And ironically enough, too, the prophecies, of course, were that Donald Trump would be the last president of the United States of America. That I could actually very easily see that actually come to fruition. The guy is single-handedly just destroying the society. I'm sure he thinks, just like Hitler thought, the final solution was in the German people's best interest. And, geez, there's plenty of historical debate about that, which, of course, you're not allowed to talk about, but nonetheless. How did Germany do given the final solution? And it's fascinating how you're not even allowed to talk about that kind of stuff in this fucked up society we live in right now. But anyway, not condoning, not condemning, just I'm a market participant. I'm a student of history. I'm a student of the market. And the only perspective I'm looking at is, how does this play out in a capitalist arena? And I've also often told all of you, people like Schindler did very, very well under Adolf Hitler's reign. So sadly, and you could even also argue too that a lot of American industrialists were actually the people who put Hitler into power. But that's a conversation for another day. Point being that it feels as though history, unfortunately, is actually repeating itself, which is scary. Oh well, silly humans. We're just supposed to be harvesters of emotion, right? Lizard people, get your tinfoil hat. Anyway, So, point of the matter here is U.S. dollar is it's sitting on shaky ground here. I'll say that much. But the thing here is that this isn't where I thought that the U.S. dollar was going to bottom. This, I think, was all bullshit. Sadly, I very comfortably think that the U.S. dollar needs to complete this very well defined Gartley pattern that's taken the past 5 years to form here. So, 5 year pattern to form in the market. What the hell's the difference of 6 months? That's meaningless. So, a little bit of a head fake here. I actually think that the US dollar index wants to head down into here. And tragically, I think it happens in and around this solar eclipse event and coming out the other side. I think there's going to be some serious chaos in this world. So get ready, folks. You want to see another piece of anecdotal evidence that's suggesting that U.S. dollar could be in a little bit of trouble here, and the markets could be in a little bit of trouble. Have you been looking at your gold price recently? Actually put out a tweet about it. And if anything, I think that the gold market right now is a really, really good analogy of how this stupid game is played. Though I don't know where the hell I put the chart. Here. Is it over here? Survey says. There we go. So, the tragedy, remember back in the spring, we had those kids on Reddit saying, I'm going all in on gold right up here, right? I mean, thankfully for them, and this is kind of the same analogy as the Gucci sweater wear. If the market, of course, absolutely puked out here, and the whole thing was a trap and a top, you probably would have heard people that did that actually talking about taking their own lives. And trust me, I've seen plenty of that when it comes to stupid money stuff. So thankfully for those people, at least we went sideways. But this is everything that I'm trying to teach you is that, when a market looks like this, you got to have the patience and discipline just to leave it alone. You can't touch that market. It's got trouble written all over it. And what do you need to do? Well, you need to let the market consolidate and just go sideways and burn off that absolutely stupid idiot public enthusiasm, which is a total and utter trap. And if you just let the market consolidate for a bit, you often mysteriously find that markets actually, if this is a bull, they will set themselves up naturally for the next leg higher. So, this is a really interesting anecdote because seasonally, the gold market, its gold window starts at the end of July and it goes through the middle of October. Well, isn't that interesting? Aren't we expecting something supposed to happen here? Middle of October? Does this pivot on exactly July 27th? Could this be July 20th? Could this be August 1st? Yeah, anywhere in and around there. And then could this, maybe the top this year comes October 1st. Maybe the top comes in December 1st. Yeah, generally. But the point being that you see that really, there really is no reason to be like, excuse me, from an industry. I almost said Indian, because I was thinking, of course, Indian wedding season. But from an industry perspective, this is actually when the gold market does best. And also, too, if we think flip side and go back to our US dollar, what happens here every bloody year right at the end of September, beginning of October, every bloody year? It's a fiscal year end for the United States of America. So that means that, and especially with Donnie and all his Doge nonsense, and I don't know whether that really amount to a hill of beans or not, but anyway, my hunch here is that there's gonna, and especially with all this tariff crap and stuff, there's gonna be a bunch of position squaring that needs to be done into that fiscal year end. And I don't think it's a surprise that our gold markets have now firmed up. And we're interesting. This thing says 27th of July. Well, you can see there is the 25th, 28th, right in that area. Oh, it looks like it missed it. July 30th was the seasonal pivot. Well, close enough. If anything, this is why I like this particular trading setup. Is what I'm most concerned about here is, do I have multiple instances where some big fat cat, especially the gold market, obviously some pretty deep pockets that play this space. They've come in and through this dump, right? Through this dump, somebody says, no, you go up. And someone else said, no, fuck you, you go down. But here, somebody said, no, no, stop going down, right? Go up. And then somebody said, no, no, we're still going down. And then this guy's like, hey, no, fuck you, going up, damn it. All right, so all right, we'll take it back up. Let's go get some more ammunition. All right, let's go after that damn guy down there below, and let's drive him into the ground. All right, sell. And somebody came along here and said, no, 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 no. I this guy's my buddy. I like him. He's one of the Dukes. If you know that reference. I'm gonna buy in here, and I like this. This is a reload zone of this range. Blah blah blah. Whatever the reason. All right, back up we go. Okay, the bear's now starting to run out of steam. Okay, we've loaded back up. Okay, let's take another run at these guys. Okay, this guy, he's a chump. Let's go and run him out. And even on this day, it opened up down here, and somebody said, actually, it opened up here. Sell, and they just couldn't push through that low. And then the next day, it opens up here, and let's sell some more. And then all of a sudden, it just ratchets away from them, and the bears are losing control here. And then they try again. Okay, let's one more attempt. Let's go after them. Come on, come on, come on. And somebody said, hey, look at that guy there. He made you look like a fool. This guy here, he made these guys look like a fool. This guy here, he's laughing right now. You know what? I'm happy. I've got 3 fat cats here to defend my trade. I'm more than happy to step in here. And lo and behold, look at what develops on this day. Open up lower, and the bears were non-existent. They just got run over. Who knows what that candle is? So if you wanted to, like, just simply hunt like bot setups and then just wait for the coup de grace, big ass key reversal bar come in here, and see that can get you in just even below the bot level. So you're even front running a little bit. I think you got a lot of lows to risk against here to defend your trade. Anyway, interesting analogy. And the irony of it all is that even right now, we're just basically at the price where Mr. Reddit guy was like, I'm all in, all 100% gold, and had to go through 6 months of absolute shit. Kind of sadly, very similar to what's happened in the crypto space. But anyway, so if this guy is pointing higher in earnest and interesting, painting some pretty big upside objectives, what I did find interesting about this, and I often tell you, a big part of technical analysis is just simply being able to connect the dots, just be able to do studies and see like, oh, it turns out there's like 3 or 4 different reasons for this asset to go to this particular place. So did find it interesting. If we do bots, then you're just very simple. A, B, C, D takes us up into this 372 area. If we do a chaos theory study off of this base back up against this high, we're basically measuring the energy that's all compressed in this range. And the fact that we actually took out this high, right? That high is 317.60. And here we are, had traded to a high of 318.09. Well, now I believe, if we do move higher here in earnest, I think this market's got a head of steam behind it. Don't even want to talk about the gold stocks. They're just, they're absolute runaway train right now, which just pisses me off to no end. Because I was uber insanely bullish to that Newmont, and I totally missed the trade. But hindsight's always 2020, eh? Anyway, So, quite a bit of energy built up in here. It looks like it's trying to be expressed. We have multiple lows to risk against. I might even just go and figure out if I can strap on a bull call spread, although $350, the spreads are going to be really expensive. So anyway, point of the matter here is if we do our chaos theory 1.618, which interesting lines up with 113, which is the move stop to scratch level. Well, that's saying our near-term objective here is probably about what is that, 328 or change, somewhere in that area. But really, I wouldn't be surprised that we actually trade up just simply doink, doink, doink. Very simple, symmetrical, harmonic setup. It probably is the same sort of conversation as the mini me kind of scenario here. This is very symmetrical. If we do happen to have the absolutely insane blow off top, think fat bastard, well, that's going to take this thing up to about $420. But what I do find interesting about this is interesting how Alan's Gronkowski said Bitcoin should hit 400,000 on November 2nd. Now, if that actually does happen, I would be, I mean, first off, Liam gets his house, so that's a good thing. Maybe I'll send Gronk a housewarming gift, something, I don't know. I think it is a bit of a stretch, but at the same time, too, I'm actually surprised Alan would actually put his neck in the noose like that. And maybe he's, I haven't really seen any follow up following that. Maybe he sort of, disclaimered it. Or maybe we go into absolutely some sort of absolute insane US dollar break. Keep in mind the 87 crash was blamed on then Secretary of State James Baker, publicly came out in October of 1987, the week prior to the crash, and publicly said that it was not in the then GOP, Ronald Reagan's first, I guess second term in office. It was not in their best interest to defend the US dollar in the open marketplace. And the world went, what? Because keep in mind, GOP Republicans, they want a weaker US dollar, more inflation, higher stock prices, higher commodity prices, higher land prices. That's who their constituency is. Democrats, they want a stronger US dollar. They want low inflation, low prices at the grocery store. Workers don't feel like they're getting fucked over by the 1%. Now, you tell me, which camp does Donald Trump fall into? Is he a, hey, power to the people kind of guy? Or is he a business, business, business kind of guy? I think you know the answer to that. So, maybe it's a scenario like that. It wouldn't surprise me. Really wouldn't. So, we're getting more anecdotal evidence of the sort of anti-US dollar proxies taking off. One thing that did jump out at me here is this an economically, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a tough one. Are there market proxies that can tell us that this move is a move based on economic fundamentals, supply and demand? Or is this a move that is all about fear and people are getting the F out and getting into gold as a safe place to bury their head while the world around them comes crashing apart? Hint, hint, hint. If I ever ask a question like that, usually the answer is yes. So the question, I suppose, for all of you is, any of you have any idea what the hell I'm talking about? It is taught in the course material, but I don't know whether anybody can follow my thinking here. Actually, I haven't seen anybody type anything in the YouTube channel for about a half an hour. I've been blabbing away here endlessly. The answer I'm looking for is yes, Brian. There is a market-based proxy that'll tell you whether the world is shitting its pants or whether it's good times by all. And that is the gold silver ratio. Interestingly enough, I think actually what we went through in the spring was our crisis. And now we're coming out the other side. So actually, it's not that bad of a situation. When we were going through this, it's sort of like, holy crap, the wheels are falling off the bus. And interestingly enough, yeah, it's actually a fairly predictable cycle. I get the impression that we're probably in through this kind of window here right now. So we're coming off of the crisis, which means that, base metal prices should do relatively well. The gold stocks themselves have already gone crazy, so it kind of sucks. But in a weird sort of way, that helps the broader gold market. I think I was telling you I wanted to get long Newmont. Oh God, can you believe what's happened to these damn gold stocks? Completely missed it. Anyway, where is look at Barrick. Oh, what a piss off. So there's your gold stocks. Holy up and away. Maybe if we're lucky, maybe we can see some way to sneak in on this thing. Douche. Yeah, well, looks like we've gone pretty far. Is that a bottom there? Oh, come on, you. Oh, I hate when it does this. Actually, maybe we can even go off of there. Something like that. So, how high is high? Actually, interesting. Berkshire Hathaway loaded up here. Oh boy, well, that wasn't the best, smartest move. But that definitely looks like a base. And I'm hoping, hope. I think there's going to be some sort of stock market crash this fall. Like I said, US dollar setting us up for something. We all know the Bitcoin peak, blah, blah, blah. So I'm hoping I can get a pullback back down into support. And you can see the gaps here. If I'm lucky, I can get back in on that guy. And also Newmont. What's scary about Newmont is it went absolutely insane in the 80s, and it looks like it's starting to go now. Hope we stall out here. But look at what this damn thing did back in the 80s, and this is what I think it's gonna do. Because I think right now, if you wanted to look back and ask yourself what kind of market state we're in, I think we're in this same market state here, 84, 85, 86. And look at what Newmont did. Son of a bitch. I'm hoping to God that we're here and we get that pullback in Barrick and all those kind of names, and I can sneak my way in here. If we're like here and this thing's going crazy, is that what the next 6 months, year looks like? I don't know. I don't think so. But anyway, unfortunately, I kind of flubbed that. I never got myself into it. But look at what the son of a gun's doing now. So as I said, I hope to God we get a pullback here so I can get in. Anyway, actually, I hope. I would never wish for anything. Markets go up, markets go down. So fucking what? It's just another trade. But I would really like to be long this guy down here. And you can see how I had this mapped out all nice and politely. And right in here, everything fell apart. It's my beautiful master plan. Oh, well. Anyway, so but one market that hasn't actually gone parabolic, but I do see it starting to wake up is the silver market. So good to see that the econs are actually justifying a higher price. And the gold silver ratio, there's still plenty of demand for silver here. Um, I don't really have any sell signals per se here. In fact, there was one gentleman that on the site who was asking about hedging this. And I didn't mind, on a 4 hour basis, maybe hunting for a hedge in here. But I think the market, if we look at like a, 4 hour chart, I think these big W's told you, you know what, maybe pull those hedges off, until these W's are broken, we're still heading higher here. So, and there's nothing on the daily chart to suggest there's a top. Yes, location, we're coming up to Brian's favorite fib and parking garages. So you can see where this market ought to top out. But you can also see that might be another $10 higher on this thing. You see where the 2.618 is, $51. If this thing gets going like crazy, I don't see any reason why this thing won't be up around that level. So as long as this guy's continue, participating with the gold, then I think it is actually industrial driven, which is a good sign for the broader economy. And I think that brings me to sort of like the coup de grace of all this is, if we look at things like the January barometer, traders back at the beginning of the year were thinking, oh boy, this is going to be a crazy ass year. Notice how they like jumped it up and then dumped it all the way lower and then took it back up, right? So even right out of the gate, you could see that insane volatility, then brought it all the way back down. A bit of a mess here. Just even that, basically that first month of the year, just absolute mess. And then if you actually projected that through the entire month, what a surprise. This pattern, we rallied a little bit, then dumped it to new lows, then took it to new highs, then brought it back down. Ironically enough, you can see where the year started and where this is like the first week started, ended almost equal. So keeping this image in mind, notice started the market up, then took it down to new lows, then took it up to new highs, then back down to basically where we started, and then finished the year kind of flat. Well, I mean, we started there. This study, and I don't know where we use. Do we use that as the end, or do we use that as the end? That's Friday, January 31st, and there is the open of Monday, the 3rd of April or February. I suppose if you use that date, then we finish up, so it'll be an up year. But you can kind of see that insanity, right? Huge rally, and then holy shit, something. And oh, by the way, that's coming pretty damn quick. Something's about to hit us squarely in the noggin. It's the end of August, it's Labor Day weekend. This doesn't really kick in for another month. It might just be something about the fiscal year end. I wouldn't be surprised if it actually has something to do with the gold. And I'm seeing lots of sort of talk about, is there actually anything in Fort Knox? And lots of talk about audit the Fed and all that kind of talk. Maybe this is where they rip the Band-Aid off and the public is finally officially told publicly that the US is actually bankrupt. Who knows? Regardless, it's going to be a hell of a shock. But interestingly enough, the shock does nothing more than just take back 50% of whatever this big move up is. And it just brings us back to whatever sort of the consolidation window was prior to the summer starting. And remember, I had talked about Bitcoin there a few minutes ago, how I thought that all they were doing is just bringing it back to that June window, where when the pros left for the summer, they all got out. And I think our final destination is basically right where they basically brought the market, took it out, sell in May and walk away and all that kind of nonsense. Ironically enough, it's the same thing here, but in the stock market, I think it's going to be some sort of just the media will paint it, and they're just following their masters and told exactly what to say. They're going to paint it like this is some sort of stock market crash and it is the end of the world and you should sell everything and get out. And my hunch is that, ironically enough, all this is just coming down, filling in gaps, 50% rules, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the sad part about it is, I think I've shown you all this before. The question is, where the hell do I have it? I think over here. If you look at the quote unquote crash of 1987, it wasn't really a crash. In fact, I think you can make the argument it was a long overdue correction that desperately needed to happen. And once the correction was done, then the market was back in balance and it could continue on its merry way. But I could very easily see a scenario like this, right? Think of this as the COVID, what's his face, Biden, and their, CARES Act lows and all that, right? There was a bottom put in the stock market in like 23. So we have a huge, monstrous move up. We're sort of like right in here right now, pushing our way up into September. And all they do is just bring it back down into previous support, right? And interestingly enough, this just brought it back down into the summer lows of the previous year. So if anything, what scares me is if they don't do this technical correction and they push the market even further higher, it's just going to create this kind of crash scenario. But it's not really a crash. All it is just this has to happen. You have to have these 50% retracements. You can't keep stretching the rubber band indefinitely. So, if we look at, I actually don't think it's that bad in the States. But if we look, I don't like this. This bothers me immensely. And if we just think just really simple 50% rules, just even off of this range, then it probably means just somewhere like, boom, right in there. And there are those summer lows. So I could very easily see, I think they're still going to push this thing a bit higher. But I could very easily see the Dow top out 45, 46,000, and then you see the Dow back at 4,000, maybe, or 40,000, excuse me. Then maybe we'd just briefly trade below 40,000, and somebody's like, oh, look at that. It's in the 30s. It's lost 20, 25% of its value. It's a crash, blah, 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 but not really. Where it does scare me, and I think there is a lot of trouble building. Can you see how that chart now does look like that US stock market, where 50% retracements here in China, and I still think they're going to push this thing higher here in the near term. That's 48 down to 42. And you can see this big old hole in the profile. And probably what this really needs to do is just like a Wyckoff check. So even something like that. Well, what a surprise. But this is going to be jarring, right? That's going to be a big move. That's only 10%. I wouldn't even be surprised if they push this thing up a little bit higher to get that up to like 15, 20%. And unfortunately, I don't think that these kind of markets come back. I've said all along, I think that the oil market and the energy market has topped. And if we look at things like crude, it's got a pretty darn powerful outside downside bearish key reversal. That's in your face. That's actually been confirmed. And I actually think I like the idea that energy prices should fall here appreciably. And I would, it might be something like You might find that one maybe the crisis this winter is that, or this fall is that China falls out of bed, India falls out of bed, Russia falls out of bed. I could easily see any of those. And if they actually stand up to the West, but then, they collapse. You saw what happened when the Soviet Union collapsed. It just turned into absolute chaos there. But commodity prices collapsed because they just exported as much as they possibly could to just make as much revenue as possible. So I actually like the idea. And also, too, if you look at crude oil prices broke in 1986 in earnest as well. So that's a curveball nobody's expecting, but I actually like that thinking. And of course, I'm bond bullish. So if energy prices did come off appreciably, that's going to help the bonds immensely. And then the last sort of piece to all that is that I'm actually extremely bullish of things like the US small cap market, and this AI tech industry build out. If you can think big picture, let me show you this really cool stock. Where the hell do I have it? Guess what? First off, who can tell me what chart pattern is that? That is a very specific name to it. I'll even help you out a little bit. Something like that. And something like that. And guess what business this company is going into? Think there's any money to be made there? Pretty chart. Very pretty. Look how many shares they have out. Does Brian like it when you find companies with 25 million shares out? Jim and Liz, did I take a look at gold? I think I looked at gold pretty well there. Gold commodity margin looking good. Me gold stocks is lovely, especially Agnico Eagle, yeah. God, I used to have an old client of mine, AEM, man. He used to love trading Agnico Eagle. Ronnie Backman and SMH. He would trade Agnico Eagle and SMH all day long. I don't know. Do you think Brian likes companies with 25 million on it? And I love this. Whenever, I mean, if you're here to learn something without having to actually pay anything, I sure hope you're writing notes and journaling. I mean, look at all the insider buying. Holy shit. Goddamn sons of bitches. Millions of shares. There was somebody about a year ago that dumped a whole bunch of stock, but that was before the reorg. So these guys, and I love when I see news about announces shares for debt. Oh my goodness, that's music to my ears. They rolled the stock back like 10 for 1, shares for debt, which tells you there must be some value to the new company stock. Didn't see any news about options to directors. I was a little surprised by that, but I'm sure there's probably buried in here somewhere. And look at what business they happen to be in. So here's a really, really good example. I don't think this trades down in the States, but there might be a bulletin board similar. So, Solutions getting at 22 billion in 2020, expected to reach 48 billion. It's the leading provider of AI-powered marketing automation solutions for high customer retention. Oh boy, here we go. Next generation AI engine designed to help small blah 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 blah. There you go. AI. Circle jerk, circle jerk. Anyway, so a company that's got shares for debt, which means there's some intrinsic value to this thing. Lots of insider ownership, especially recently. Gotta like that. And has a big fat cup and handle chart pattern working. Yeah, there's only 25 million shares out on this thing. So this is just yet another example. But I definitely think that this AI, and especially if crude oil prices come off appreciably, the whole fucking world's going to turn into an AI robot. So the future is speaking to us, folks. It's staring at you in glorious Technicolor. And keep in mind, I did exactly the same thing. It's almost identical on this funny little got, and found it. Shares rolled back. Options directors. Shares for debt. Blah 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 blah. And that was back over here. So you can see that same wide chart pattern down here. This was 30 cents a share, and I'm still long tons of this stock at $2.30 a share. Well, that's not a bad investment. So, this is the same sort of chart. And I see big things, and it makes sense. I mean, God, you listen to Stewart. I think he's surrounded more by AI agents than he has family members. He's surrounded by AI agents, and he loves it. He's in like heaven. So if Stewart's super excited about this, then obviously this is the future. Keep in mind, Stewart wanted to buy Nvidia stock at $20 a share, like 5 stock splits ago. And he wanted to buy Bitcoin, and he still has his open order working to buy Bitcoin at $600 a coin. So, if Stewart's excited about something, I would definitely pay attention. Anyway. All right, I think that's about it for all the rhetoric here today. I've given you my 2 cents on a number of different markets and heading into the fall here. So I hope you feel like you got some value listening to the Beamish here today. We'll circle back around and just take a look at a few names that you guys have asked me to look at in the lounge. Do you see any other questions or anything added to the Q&A document, Chris? Almost ran out of air there. All right. Here's a name I'm working a bid on. Hopefully you can see the W's, and there's my bid down 78.6. So, kind of everything I usually do in the market, but I'm not really trying to buy much. I'm just adding to my bag on this one. Other than that, like I said, I haven't really been doing much buying. I'm just waiting for sort of that October, November window. Hopefully we have a nice poppy market there, and I'm just going to be selling into those rallies. You people over on YouTube, let's see. Gospit Egg 88. Brian, could you possibly look up at INJ USDT? INJ USDT. All right, let's see what the hell this is. Uh-oh. Well, you can see what letter of the alphabet staring us in the face here. Not the prettiest momentum picture. So this thing ain't kind of like that last one that I'm bidding down below. Same sort of thing. You can see momentum right now. And, based on what I just said, my expectation is for the next couple of weeks, I'm not, in this kind of momentum picture, I'm not expecting a heck of a lot of up here. So on your name, lower highs and lower lows on MACD, but we haven't gone through this low, so hopefully we hold that low in there. Lower highs and lower lows there on RSI, on Williams percentage R. Willie is not stupid yet. There's a big M staring you in the face. And it looks like this thing probably needs to come back down to earth a little bit. If we are looking at trend continuation, I'd like to see 3 higher lows through this window here at least. Probably want to see that happen on the other sides of trend lines. So you got to wait for that to all be cleaned out and then get W's to come in over here. And then maybe we got something through that month of September. I could see that happen. Is it forming now as we speak? No. So no hurry there whatsoever. And really, if you're a value player and you're not going to like this, I would be hunting back down against this original bottom. What's scary about this guy, V bottoms like to be tested. So really there should be some sort of test of the bottom down here. So not something I could buy there. If I was long, if you bought the double bottom here, what a surprise. Just like so within inches of your double A, drive you crazy. I do think that's a hallmark of this market state. I have no idea where you'd be long from. And has this thing actually turned the corner where it's starting to trend higher on a longer time frame? I don't think so. So there is your long-term trend line. For us to actually think that this thing is trending higher and it's a new bull market, we got to see W's on the other side of this trend line. So I think probably for now, in fact, probably this high here and that low there, define your trading range. Top end of the range, bottom end of the range, range ping pong. Get on the other side of this trend line, show me some W's, and then we can take a look at it. And as I said, with regard to momentum, on the weekly basis, yuck, man, tough. Just, and it's interesting. A lot of people have been conjecturing why no altcoin market this year. Yeah, markets will do any old damn thing they want. I might argue half of the reason why the shitcoins really haven't done much is the cost of money is just too high. So Mr. Powell keeping short-term interest rates as high as they are, and this is probably, Trump himself. He wants to make a fortune, with his, whatever the fuck that con job thing is that he's doing. But you can't get people to come FOMOing in if they don't have any money, and you can't get venture cap to finance deals at like 4 or 5% interest on short-term paper with absolutely no guarantee of principal. It's almost impossible. At 0%, well, that was a hell of a lot easier to pallet. But 4 or 5%, money ain't cheap. So as a result, you might find that this guy's just stuck in the mud. Does have a W working here though, so that's encouraging. As I've told a lot of people in this space, little old ladies coming in and buying against bottom ends of ranges, they might have to sit here for a while. You might have to, a 3 to 5 year time horizon. That's what Wall Street tells everybody if they ever invest in anything. So I don't see any reason why that would be any different here. If you're, this is a really good example where maybe somebody thought they were going to be cute and they went in and bought here and they're sitting there going, okay, now what do I do? Now what do I do? What I would just say is, well, until this thing W is on the other side of this trend line, it's just going sideways at best, but maybe even still pointing down. So great location to be a nanny nibbler. More than happy to step in here, but that's a nanny nibble. That's a little old lady. Ain't no stopwatch running on her. And there's no margin calls, no interest on debt. She just owns this asset and is just sitting there twiddling her thumbs. All right. Sorry if I give you a reading that's not to your liking. I'm just telling you what I see here. CRO. Let's see what we got there. What time is it? 1:02. So I got to wind this up. Should be out the door here in the next 20 minutes or so. Not quite sure where you want me to look at this thing. Suppose we can just do Coinbase, pretty popular. Ooh, now that's better. Now that does not look like that last one, does it? So this one actually, has broken out. Big volume. That's encouraging. Unfortunately, with Willie isn't quite stupidly overbought here. Once he gets stupidly overbought on the weeklies, be careful. If we go back to the daily, unfortunately, this probably means there's no way in hell I could buy something like this here. Yeah, I would hope to God if you did, kind of like that last name. I'm gonna come in here and buy reload zones for fuck's sakes. I hope you're paying yourself. So, but there's nothing I could do here other than be ringing the register. And chaos theory, boosh. Yeah, 4669. Anything above this level, you're getting kind of greedy. And of course, 877 is our absolutely insane blow off top final stop, if you will. Sometimes it can get going beyond, I guess we got to go all the way down there, right? Sometimes it can get going beyond 4669 up into 877s. Doesn't happen every day. I think if anything, this makes perfect sense. It's just oscillating around there. But for God's sakes, you can't really buy that there. And if you did force yourself to buy little old lady style, or even bought these W's as a trade, Joe Sixpack kind of trade, why are you not paying yourself? All right. So that's a pretty easy one. Hi Brian, I'm wondering what do you think are the main differences between trading in a bull market and in a bear market? Psychological, I've technically wondering what's your approach, Nick. What I would simply say is 90% of the public will get absolutely destroyed trading a bear market. My suggestion for the public is pay attention to something like this. Really, once we get beyond this crypto summer and we actually start topping out in all of these names, you're best just to leave this shit alone until we get into this 1618 to 1786 window. So unfortunately, that's probably not what you wanted to hear. Through the winter, my hunch is I'll probably primarily be flipping futures contracts on like a day trading basis and probably doing my options, iron condors, collecting volatility premium, and bull call spreads, bear put spreads on individual names. But the sort of mass sort of, hey, just buy it and you'll do well. The wind is at our backs. Pullbacks are buying opportunities. No, all that's off. So, but we're not there yet. We still got a couple more months to go here. So I'm not going to quite turn that nasty. But once we get on the other side of this, my interest in buying assets in the crypto space will be probably next to non-existent. I just won't be that interested. So be forewarned. And if anything, what I actually do like, because I've got a shit ton of money sitting on these stupid brokerage accounts like Interactive, and now see, I'm really excited about this broker in Canada, Quest Trade. So I'm going to give them a whirl, trading iron condors over there. But I actually do like the idea of like building a stock bear plan where I buy puts on Coinbase, Mara, Riot, HUD, Novogratz, all those names, and demonstrate how to make money in a bear market playing those put spreads and maybe even a wheel strategy on one or two of them. So that's my thinking here. Will the public be able to do this? Probably not. Keep in mind, the public is like 80-90% long. So my advice for the public is just cool your jets. But of course, they won't. They'll be sucked into the top. They'll be most euphoric, most excited, most chasing by ideas. And unfortunately, through that window, they're going to end up getting their heads handed to them. Anyway, that's my thoughts. And I have a feeling it's going to play out very much like my summer in Europe adventure, where there'll be a cycle peak, then there'll be a quick rip right back down to the lows that we've seen recently here. And then they'll just take the market sideways for like the better part of a year, just slowly making lower highs and lower lows, being very quiet about it. Everybody's sort of falling asleep. Bitcoin's worth $75,000 without question. And then one final dump, they knock it in half down to like 30, 40 grand into the ultimate bottom through the next winter window. And we start the whole damn game all over again. But we're like right here right now, actually, more like right here. Um, that rest of that summer rally window is soon fading. Be careful here. And ironically enough, I like my hunch here is we're probably going to be sitting at the current prices that we see even now for most of 2026. And it won't be right until the end of 2026. Democrats come screaming back into power, and the whole floor finally falls out of the crypto market as everybody believes that the Democrats are going to shit on crypto. But in reality, nothing really changes. They put in a base and we start the whole fucking game all over again. Anyway, I hope that speaks to your question. Blue balls. Ha ha ha. All right. Not sure what reference that is. Super cool school. All right. I think a lot of people are going to scream head and shoulders pattern on the daily if when we go to 2. Okay. Hi, Brian. Do you have any good book or course recommendations to help with trading psychology? Please. Thanks again. Who's a good guy is Mark Douglas, right? Trading in the Zone. I think that has been one of our site popular references to help you with trading psychology. So there you go. I think Richard Wyckoff wrote some pretty popular books about market cycles and how you should be thinking. So check out him. Wyckoff is a pretty famous guy. Oh yeah, there used to be this one book that actually was really obscure, but God, I can't even remember the name of it anymore. But it was actually a really, really good book on trading psychology. But if I think about it, I'll mention it in the lounge. Me gold stocks is lovely. Okay. Especially Agnico. Well, if you're long, fucking A. Gold commodity margin looking good. You know what I noticed is a lot of the little junior piece of shit stocks are finally starting to wake up. I don't know whether you want to talk gold stocks here, but man, the VSC's been in the shitter forever. It's been so bad they don't even call it the VSC anymore. You call it that, and somebody slaps you. Don't you dare mention that place, Briex. I think I did notice some of the little juniors that I've been interested over the years starting to wake up. Here's one that was a rollback that I bought a few years ago, made some good money on it. And it's kind of done nothing for a while, but you tell me, does that look like she's getting ready to go? And they just recently rolled the stock back. And this guy's a gold play. And I think Doug Casey, he really likes this stock. More so the actual like deposit that they have. Oh, look at that. Our W's coming in on other sides of trend lines. They just rolled the stock back. So there's a gold stock for you to look at. Did notice a few gold names starting to perk up and on some volume too, which is a good sign. Finally, take forever. I think this guy's a half decent little gold stock. Any money to be made there? Isn't that incredible? Look at that chart. Son of a bitch. When these names get ready to go, my God, there's going to be fortunes to be made here. So, do yourself a favor. Doesn't cost you much to buy these things these days, too. I've got these funny TMC warrants, so I'm just curious to see how this thing fares. Does it get back to its SPAC days? That's what this bet has been all along here. I think I bought some of this down here. Anyway, a couple other gold stocks that I like. Unfortunately, the crypto stocks just they don't look like anything right now. If anything, they look expensive, which is scary. Where are these? Rest of the good stocks that I like? Here's your Agnico. Look at that fucking thing. To the moon. Oh, Jesus H Christ. Interesting though, we're talking about silver, and there's First Majestic. This is like one of the biggest, oldest silver stocks around. Pretty good looking chart, eh? I don't think I can chase that, but if you are long, I know some people at TRI got long down here and they were banging out doubles on that move up there. I think this is another popular silver stock. Endeavor Silver. These they got there's a long way to go on these things. This guy looks like he could probably run out of steam up here though. But I want to show you those juniors. Yeah, here's my juniors. This little guy here, he's waking up. Look at that little piece of shit. That thing got any room to move back up? Oh boy. So I do see the junior market here waking up. But as I said to you earlier, this is actually, it's not a good sign to see the market rally into October, November, which I think you're going to see here, because I do think this is the end of the move, not the beginning of the move. So these guys, interesting little bottom. This is a little piece of crap stock that I've owned forever. I think this guy's been moving up on, no, not much there, but if you're a bottom fisher, interesting level there. Yeah, I wasn't really thinking I was going to be talking junior gold stocks here today, so didn't really prepare too much. You know what? I totally want to short this stupid Chinese bank stock. And look at what these fuckers did. So I've been watching for months this 78.6. You know how much I love 78.6s. And there was a gap. I mean, God, that's exactly where I wanted to get short. So what do these cocksuckers do? And they know that everybody in the public is watching the same damn level. Look at what they did here on their damn earnings announcement. They gapped the stock up, traded it to the level in like 5 minutes, and then just ripped it a new one all the way down here. Like they knew that this was the selling level. This is the level you want to get short. And they just froze the entire public. Like this happened in like a heartbeat, cocksuckers. So I guess you could say the gap's been filled now, eh? But I'm hope because I really want to short these assholes. They're so arrogant. I hate these people. Hopefully, I can get something like that to get in on a half decent short against that level. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. Only time will tell. My hunch is that this thing confirms the key reversal and just pukes right out. And if you weren't sharp and able to get the order in at that level, too bad. So sad. That's the way manipulated markets work. Take a screenshot of that. Perfect example. Utter and complete market manipulation. Anyway. Okay, so don't really have many other gold stocks for you to chew on, but I have a feeling over the coming week or so I'll probably see some more. RNDR. So that's Sjord's render thing. There it is. I'll just give you my 2 cents. The current bid's about a half a penny. Yeah. I think this guy kind of had his day in the sun, right? And didn't they have some sort of scandal or something? So, ironically enough, this is actually very investable levels. So, the issue here, though, is you can see how well defined that top is. It's going to take forever for this thing to actually be a new bull market. Might argue that there was the original downtrend there. So, is that a W over there? Maybe. I would say, though, unfortunately, with this counter trend rally, I think that this now is a massive brick wall there to there to there. So your rallies at best, this should run into a major brick wall up here. But that's fine. I mean, if you were accumulating at 786s and we did actually rally here, should be able to get like a triple off on that move. So selling halves on doubles, getting free positions, I think it's doable. Um, right now, kind of like that other name and probably a lot of crypto. This to me looks like there's your trading range, top of the range, bottom end of the range, and range ping pong. So we're basically, you can almost see, and it wouldn't surprise me into this October seasonal peak, maybe into the end of the year kind of idea. It looks like this thing is setting up for A, B, C, D to come right back up and test the top end of the range there. So probably also too, this is like 38.2s, 50%, all that kind of fun stuff. Which acts as sort of like a ceiling. Well, that's not what I wanted. Let's try that again. Recording coming to an end here in 2 minutes. So I'll have to wind this up here, folks. Sorry. What did I want? Reload zone and others. Yeah, there you go. So 38.2 will be a major barrier up here. So if you're lucky, you get that kind of pop up into there. If you picked it up at $3 in that area, well, you should be able to get a double off on that pop. That's probably what I'll be shooting for here this November kind of window. All right. Hi, Brian. Do you use Wyckoff in your trading, the accumulation and distribution patterns? Sure. As much as anybody. I mean, if you played this game long enough, then you understand. These are accumulation when you see that kind of price action. So we're in the accumulation phase. And you could argue that, some dips, usually they're much cleaner than this, but, dips basically come back down into previous breakout levels. So I think you could argue accumulation, and then now we're in the distribution phase. Now, are we transitioning here from distribution back to accumulation? Well, Mr. Wyckoff would tell you that we've got to start closing out here and establishing higher highs and higher lows. And then if you zoom in on the Wyckoff pattern, it's actually, 1 up, 2 down, 3 up, 7 down, 4, 6, 7, blah, 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 blah. You can get into that, and that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The Wyckoff bottoming model's pretty messy. But just remember, nothing ever is exactly the same. So everything's going to have subtle nuances. All I really, what I want you to be, Jade, is I want you to be this guy. Is if you can just simply remember this. We really, if you're a bull, if you're a bear, you're not this. But if you're a bull, then really, it's really simple. Don't overthink this stuff. We just want it. We're all part of the National Association of W lovers here. And this is just our lives. So W's are bullish, M's are bearish. And if you're a fan of Wyckoff, hopefully you can see. I mean, I think we have that image in the library somewhere. Wyckoff market cycle. I mean, almost all. The interesting thing is you can take this image, and I can talk to our advanced students in like the futures trading modules and understanding things like hedging and how commercials act in the marketplace, and how large institutional players like Goldman and Joey Diamond and all them, they do nothing more than just facilitate the trade for industry, which in a weird sort of way actually creates this backdrop. So if you understand the mechanics of how industry actually works, it's actually a fairly simple common sense model. You can also apply concepts like Elliott wave to try and sort of discern where you are in this markup markdown process. Very similar thinking. So there's a number of different ways to skin the cat. Often, I created a momentum indicator called the Willy, which just simply usually Willie gets stupidly oversold in these kind of situations and stupidly overbought in these two situations. So short answer, yes. Obviously, Richard Wyckoff, I even made reference to Richard Wyckoff earlier, is a huge, huge contributor to the technical analysis conversation. And yes, I do talk about this at length, but in more of a why this happens rather than do I specifically trade, oh, if this makes an angle at that certain degree and happens on a Tuesday between 12 and 3 p.m. With the chicken outside rooster or whatever cockadoodle doing
recording stopped,
blah blah blah. I don't really ever follow that kind of stuff. If you ever get into like the Elliott wave guys, what's so hilarious is whenever an Elliott wave guy, they'll sit down, they'll go, oh, this is their wave of the Z wave and the 3 and the A, B, C, D. And then if they get it wrong, then they just go, oh, well, it must have been something wrong with my count. And I completely absolved of the problem. It was just a miscount. And hey, wait a minute, I lost money on your call. Well, sorry, it was just a miscount. It's the way it goes between friends. So short answer, yes. Long answer, yes, but a little bit more of why rather than just the what. All right. Looks like we came to the sorry, DG. Pop on the yeah. Thanks, Ben. So DG asked whether I could look at Polygon. Tell you what, come on the site tomorrow, and we'll do that through the Monday broadcast, which is behind the paywall. I suppose just in closing, I do have this alternative to Twitter, X, whatever the hell you want to call it. What I really like about this platform is I can actually go into detail on the write-ups versus having to pay, Alan's extortion to actually do a bit of typing and writing with my posts. So if you'd like to join me, there's no fee for anybody at this point. Maybe in the new year, I might change this to a fee model. But feel free to DM me. I'd be more than happy to share you that address. If you want to follow me on social media and get sort of these more detailed posts. If you are struggling in the marketplace and you need guidance, basically the model that I put into place for teaching people how to sort of set themselves up to at least behave correctly in the marketplace. I think I haven't seen too many other people in the marketplace have a product that can hold a candle to what we do for you. So, if you have that opportunity, we'd love to have you part of the community here this fall. Just understand the school program starts like literally week after next. So if you are interested, you better get your butt in gear. Thought I had that page handy, but I don't see it anywhere here. But maybe Chris can include the link that I shared earlier in the video description. All right, and I'll go link down below. Please comment, like, subscribe, all that kind of fun stuff. I'll just give you this link, Chris, if you could just make sure that's in there. We'd love to have you part of the community here this fall. It should be quite an adventure. I'll tell you that much, Bycrackers. What I really want to do, of course, is try and make a positive difference in this world. And the only skill set that I seem to have is knowing how to manage money. So if I can help you, I'm here to help. PMA for the win. Slow and steady wins the race, and let's all have a really fun end to this current crypto cycle. And who knows what the hell the market's got in store for us. And hey, I hope Gronkowski is right, and Bitcoin hits 400,000. If that's the case, then Liam gets his house. I think I could buy a half decent house with him with a million or $2. That's what my coins would be sold for. Um, so fingers crossed. Having said that, I have a sneaky suspicion that we're going to end this cycle with a whimper, not a bang. So that probably means that my bitcoins aren't going anywhere. They will stay in cold storage, and that'll be that. Um, so have yourselves a great rest of your holiday weekend. We'll see everybody on the site, of course, for video tomorrow. But because the market's closed, there'll probably be more sort of reviewing and just interacting with the public and answering questions, interacting with the community and answering questions, and maybe just shooting the poop. So it should be a fun all around anyway. Okay, that is exactly about the time I got to leave for Liam to make sure that I arrive on time. So have yourselves a great rest of your day. Thank you very much for the best wishes. If you could say a thought or prayer for Lily and I on the roads today. Hopefully it'll be pretty quiet given it's a holiday weekend. But always an adventure on these Chinese roads. Best wishes to you and your family through the rest of the weekend. Slow and steady wins the race. Remember what your number one job is. Try not to take no wooden nickels. And of course, the only thing left for me to say to you good people is bye for now.